celebrating and making fun of the circumstances surrounding the tragic death in cold blood of our deceased comrade at the hands of his bodyguard. This callous and cultured behavior no doubt runs counter to our time-honored and cherished African culture and values of humanity, Ubuntu. Let me seize the occasion to briefly say three things. One, to join you in condemning in the strongest terms the insensitive, merciless, provocative, silly jokes on social media celebrating and making fun of the circumstances surrounding the tragic death in cold blood of our deceased comrade at the hands of his bodyguard. This callous and cultured behavior no doubt runs counter to our time-honored and cherished African culture and values of humanity, Ubuntu. His family members, friends, and the entire nation is still in grief and mourning the passing on of this great son of Uganda. So please, those responsible out there, at least spare the family to first mourn their loved one. Speaking for the UPDF, I want to state, without any fear of contradiction, that the UPDF and its forerunner, the National Resistance Army, which I have now served for almost 40 years, has never been a mercenary force. Our service to our motherland has always been and is out of patriotism and ideological conviction. Ours has been sacrificed through and through so that our country becomes peaceful, secure, and stable. Right Honorable Speaker, that is the reason Uganda is an island of peace in a volatile region. The Right Honorable Speaker, colleague members of the August House, for the record, I'm Lieutenant General James Mugira, one of the representatives of the Uganda People's Defense Forces, which is the other family of the late Colonel retired Charles Okero Patrick Ngora. I do rise, second the motion for a resolution of Parliament to pay tribute to my friend, my boss, and comrade in arms in the Ministry of Defense and Veteran Affairs and the Uganda People's Defense Forces, the late Honorable Okero Charles Patrick Ngora, who lost his life in a cold-blooded murder at the hands of his supposed protector and defender and breathed his last on Tuesday, the 2nd of May, 2023. I do extend deepest condolences from the UPDF fraternity to the bereaved family, the friends, members of Parliament, cabinet ministers, and His Excellency the President on the untimely death of Honorable Colonel Charles Ngora. As UPDF, we are mourning and paying glowing tribute to one of us, a brave soldier who joined the military in 1979, according to the Army records, at the age of 21, and rose through the ranks from private to full colonel at the time of his retirement in 2005, after 26 years of distinguished service to his motherland. Right Honorable Speaker, we are paying tribute to a courageous, decisive, committed, and accomplished artillery commander who fought and won many battles against the Sudan-backed Joseph Kony-led Rhodes Resistance Army, notably the capture of Kaya Town in then Sudan during an operation codenamed Mwisho 1, and the capture of a number of strongholds, enemy strongholds in Sudan, of Magwi, Tingiri, Kiti Junction, Aru Camp, up to Jablain during Operation Mwisho 2, where he was commanding 100mm artillery under the overall command of General Katumba Wamala. Right Honorable Speaker, we are paying tribute to an officer who played a big role during Operation Safe Haven in the Democratic Republic of Congo, where he was the field commander of all the UPDF artillery and air defense units involved in defensive offensive operations inside Congo against the ADF terrorist group, which had wreaked havoc in our country, including the Chichwamba massacres and a series of improvised explosive device bombings in Kampala City. Right Honorable Speaker, we are paying tribute to a valiant commander who played a prominent role during counterinsurgency operations in northern Uganda, in the Menakuru area, and as a brigade commander of the Opit-based 501 Brigade, which earned him the praise name Mashodogo, meaning fire is back. The late Colonel Okero Ngora contributed immensely to breaking the back of the LRA in the area, which in turn created a conducive environment that enabled Wananchi in internally displaced camps to return home and resume their normal activities. Marshal Dogo became a household name in the Rango region and is synonymous with the return of peace and security in the area. We, therefore, in the UPDF, salute his efforts and invaluable contribution to ending the LRA mayhem in northern Uganda and for contributing to the bringing of peace, security, and stability that is currently enjoyed in the region. Right Honorable Speaker, the late Honorable Okero Ngora was a true patriot who always had his country and community at heart. In the military, we are men and women of action. We believe more in motivational actions than motivational speaking. Machodong was a man of few words, but extremely pragmatic, who exercised hands-on leadership. He was also a very good political mobilizer, as evidenced by the massive support he received when, upon retiring from the army, contested and was voted massively as chairperson LOC 5 and later member of parliament for Oyam North County. He was determined to free his people out of poverty and worked towards improving their standards of living. At a personal level, the late Colonel Ngora and I were decorated the same day, 18 years ago, in October 2005, to the rank of Colonel. And when he was appointed by my boss as Minister of State for Defense, I used to interact with him closely in his office and during our travels abroad to attend international military and defense exhibitions when we would have close, constructive discussions. Less than a month before his assassination, we did share a table and a drink at a social function here in Kampala. Right, Honorable Speaker, colleague members, before I take leave, let me seize the occasion to briefly say three things. One, to join you in condemning in the strongest terms the insensitive, merciless, provocative, silly jokes on social media celebrating and making fun of the circumstances surrounding the tragic death in cold blood of our deceased comrade at the hands of his bodyguard. This callous and cultured behavior, no doubt, runs counter to our time-honored and cherished African culture and values of humanity, Ubuntu. His family members, friends, and the entire nation is still in grief and mourning the passing on of this great son of Uganda. So please, those responsible out there, at least spare the family to first mourn their loved one. Thieves, gatekeepers, etc., as you have seen on the media, social media. Whereas this could be the first such an assassination case in Uganda, it is certainly not the first in the world. We have had assassinations even of more senior people by own guards. For example, that of President Laurent Kabila of the Democratic Republic of Congo, Premier Indira Gandhi of India, President Abdul Rashid Al-Shamaki of Somalia, and President Anwar Sadat of Egypt, who was assassinated by his soldiers during a victory parade, among others. Speaking for the UPDF, I want to state, without any fear of contradiction, that the UPDF and its forerunner, the National Resistance Army, which I have now served for almost 40 years, has never been a mercenary force. Our service to our motherland has always been and is out of patriotism and ideological conviction. Ours has been sacrificed through and through so that our country becomes peaceful, secure, and stable. Right, Honorable Speaker, that is the reason Uganda is an island of peace in a volatile region. So the assassination of the minister cannot just be reduced to an issue of raw salary and allowances. This is indiscipline, period. Yes, there could be, and indeed, are issues to be addressed, but please, let us not sow seeds of anarchy, hatred, fear, and animosity, where even us, members of parliament, we fear to go back to our homes because we fear our maids, our askaris, and our chefs. Finally, Right Honorable Speaker, in the military we don't speculate. That's why before any military operation, we carry out reconnaissance on the enemy to establish the exact enemy strength in terms of personnel and equipment, the enemy locations and intentions, etc. I, therefore, enjoin and beseech Ugandans out there, stop speculation. An official board of inquiry has been set up. Let us wait for its findings. As I conclude, Right Honorable Speaker and colleague members, let me once again extend our deepest and heartfelt condolences